Glad Joe made it here because it's a perfect day. Looks like Dow is down close to 500, Nasdaq's down over 500, S&Ps are off a point and a half percentage wise, and looks like risk off. Even Bitcoin is retesting that shoulder level if you're looking at a chart. It's weird for me. I kind of mentioned it in a response to you, Joe, about the head and shoulders, but since Bitcoin doesn't close, I, I don't really know how to determine because it should close under that level to really breach the shoulder. Anyway, I'm going to do real quick my little disclosure. As always, please, anything in this is not financial advice. You shouldn't be listening to me for any of your financial decisions. Please, I am not a financial advisor. You need to reach out to your own financial advisor. Do your own research for making any decisions on your investments. And I don't think you should be listening to me or anybody on YouTube for that matter. Um, so I hope everybody's doing well. It's definitely looking like a risk off type of trade. And I don't know if we're just going to go into tax season and have similar to last year where we have a big pullback that catches itself and then it reverses and goes back off. Or if Joe's right and that we're going to see a real correction that has been long overdue. To be fair, people are overstretched and they've extended a good bit. So maybe we get that correction that people have been waiting for a long time. I let me see if I can get quotes. I don't know if I can. I'd be interested because on my phone is where I check a lot of this stuff. Let me see if Coinbase is on here. So Bitcoin did post a confirmed bottom, but you should always expect a retest of any gap down low. Yeah, I think so too. But that's why I said, like, theoretically, if it closed below, there is no close. But if it closes below 74.5, and I keep saying 74 to give it a little bit more room to breathe, the next level is like 50,000. Like, it really has a good long way before it hits the support. Now, that being said, so weak candle is saying, are you holding Bitcoin and what is your strategy with the asset? I do have a little bit of Bitcoin. It is on a thumb drive and I don't pay attention or think about it. Like it's just not enough money for me to really worry or my thought is if the Michael Saylors of the world are correct, my son will be very happy that he gets lucky with it, and if not, it's not the end of the world. Um, and yeah, Meta's correcting well too. It's last I saw 688 or something, and feels like there's more of a down draw. And if it gets to the 637 level that you're pointing out, I think similarly, there's room from there as well. Like, I don't know if this will just be a short correction or if there will be an opportunity. Like, I see so many things that people have oversubscribed to that are really struggling. And what I find in the past is when something corrects, it can take years of sitting on the bottoms and starting to not make sense to where it's like, hey, earnings are decent, the company's making money, but the stock is doing terrible, for people to finally give up on it before it starts to go higher. And that takes a very long time to work its way through the system. And to be fair to all the people who have been gloom and doom for the past few years, what they're not incorrect about is people have overextended. They've gotten a little too excited about the risk on type of assets. The risk on assets took off and made people feel like they had a lot of money. And if they're holding on to all of that stuff, and if it corrects, eventually that flows through to the things that have real value, and it creates an opportunity. So next stop for Bitcoin should be 66,559. Okay. Hopefully, Saylor is forced to sell MicroStrategy stock to answer margin calls. He's the manipulator. Absolutely. And a lot of times the big companies, like, they know where they have to push it to, and meaning the banks or whoever else, to force somebody to get out of a trade like that. I don't know if Michael Saylor, like, he has his own personal wealth outside of MicroStrategies. So I don't know if he's just become this salesperson for MicroStrategies, constantly just hailing Bitcoin, or if he really believes what he says. Sorry, my eye itches. Like, I haven't figured that out at all. And quite honestly, he's pretty wealthy as an individual. I don't know that it matters what MicroStrategies does. So maybe he's out there just promoting and promoting. And he owns so much of Bitcoin. The problem is, if he's forced to sell, who's he selling to? And that would be when the opportunity arises. Like, if Michael Saylor is forced out, and I think he owns, like, let's take a look before I just make a wrong guess. What percentage of Bitcoin does MicroStrategies own? Why is it not? You would think this stuff would just be 3.4% of Bitcoin's total supply. So if he's forced into a position where he has to actually sell that, that'll become a great opportunity for the banks and the other people who are going to take the other side of it. Uh, my understanding is the way that he's bought the Bitcoin, he shouldn't ever get in a position of having to sell it. So maybe it just becomes worth less and less over time, and MicroStrategy's price drops as well. But it doesn't make sense to me just the way that he was buying. Like, I find that people who are believers like that in something, even if they're right in the long run, the thing goes against them far enough to force them to take a big loss before they're right. So I guess we'll see. So MicroStrategies is borrowing to buy Bitcoin. So the banks are going to call him on his loan soon. Yeah, but he sold bonds. Like, did he borrow and get leveraged? Or did he sell bonds to raise the capitals and now somebody else is the bag holder on these bonds that really don't have a whole lot of value? Now, if he actually borrowed cash against the Bitcoin to get extra, use leverage like anybody else, which is what I always thought. But when I read about it, my understanding is they're not really leveraged. It's bondholders who gave him the capital to be able to purchase it. And same thing, let's take a look and see if the answer is on here. Google's usually pretty good about this. Is MicroStrategy leveraged, or is it just bonds they sold? Including now known as Strategy, is transformed from traditional software firm to a Bitcoin heavy. Whoops, sorry, my screen. To a Bitcoin heavy strategy company. Instead of parking cash in low yield assets, it is leveraged debt and equity to buy over however many coins, turn digital scarcity. MicroStrategy convertible debt, though. It's issued at a zero coupon that can thought as a loan with no interest. This approach allows the company to buy more Bitcoin. Yeah, I'm reading the same thing. Um, Buy more Bitcoin and keep using convertible bonds and other financing to purchase even more of the cryptocurrency. The company's stock has been, whatever, who cares, it's gone up that much, 12 months. Well, MicroStrategy and Bitcoin is not just about bonds they sold, it is a significant part of the capital structure. The company's Bitcoin holdings provide a substantial collateral buffer for its bonds and equity holders. I guess if the bond holders decide they want to sell and get their money out, that could put them in a really tight or tough position. It doesn't look like they're actually leveraged, but that doesn't mean they can't be squeezed. It does mean that if the bondholders start to sell, that'll put some real pressure on it. And I'm kind of curious. Hey, Lance, I'm glad you made it. Anyway, let me read some of these and see where we're at. But he borrowed to buy and sell the bond. Yeah. I think it's too good to be true too. And you know, that could be what pulls the market down. And that's why I said I don't want to be all gloom and doom here. But I mentioned on the weekend when Bitcoin started to correct, between it and the metals, there are some signals that indicate there are some cracks that are serious in the market that you don't want to ignore. Yeah, I would think so too. Anyway, I'll get to Joe's comments and some of the others, but let me read through and um, well, Lily's asking about Oracle. Let me take a quick look because I have some major concerns about Oracle as well. Um, the other day it was weird, and this is the same stuff. I kind of wonder if today Palantir will end up down on the day. I mean, they were up a good bit. They were up even more earlier. They had spectacular earnings, but Joe, what I'm seeing is those become opportunities to sell, and I have slowly been doing the same. Now, I don't think anybody like I don't want to be completely uninvested, but I'm looking at things like General Mills and things that are defensive stocks that yeah, earnings could drop and maybe they won't be in the position to pay their dividends, but that would take a pretty magnificent recession. Like, and I don't know that we're going to see anything like that, but I could see a lot of these oversubscribed stocks have a much bigger correction than anybody thinks and take a very long time to recover from there. Um, so Oracle announced that they were going to raise a bunch of capital. I think it was like $50 billion to be able to do this AI push forward that they've committed to. On that news, the stock took off and went higher. But since then, which was yesterday, it was trading above 170. It's now at $152, down another 5% today. And I'm beginning to worry that Oracle has literally just taken on too much debt. And forgive me, Lily, I don't know what your position or if you have one. I, I don't know how far it could go. Like Oracle could put themselves out of business after Larry Ellison went from being the wealthiest person in the world. The company's fallen more in half. The high back in just September was $345. It's dropped almost $200 from there, and then, I mean, its year low in the 52-week range is a little bit ways away, but it is in shooting distance. I would be very cautious about getting into Oracle or any of the hyperscalers. What I worry about is Oracle spent money with Nvidia, who spent money with Amazon, who spent like they all seem to be rotating money with each other. So I don't know how real that money is, and the look, I joke about Target. I hope everybody understands. It's not that I think Target's some great company, but what I do like about it is I'm comfortable with what they do and that the earnings are legitimate. Like that's why I always talk about Oracle. Can I lend you $15,000 so I can start day trading? I have collateral. Well, I guess I would need to know what that collateral is and how how you would plan to put it in a position where if I wanted to take the collateral because the money was lost that I could. Now, if it's your car or something else, well, sorry, no, just can't. And hey, Lacroix and Lance, I am glad you made it. And I don't know that I disagree, Joe, that MicroStrategies could be going below 100. I like it could be. Let's see, where is it now? And does anybody tell me where is Bitcoin? Because I watch it on my phone. I don't really have it. Look at that. It's under 130. Its year low is 126, which was only what? Oh, today. So it traded the low today. And when I look at a chart of MicroStrategies, like really, if Bitcoin keeps going, I suppose, yeah, it could be the same with MicroStrategies. There's really nothing supporting it. It just is a Bitcoin holding. Um, so I don't disagree that it could easily get below 100. Let me look at a chart. Not that the chart really matters all that much. And let me open it up so it's not so small. Oh, here we go. I mean, charts are so silly. I'm guessing you like them, which is why you have. Oh, so it's bounced off the 74, but but I don't think it's out of the woods, and I'm just interested to see. I see that, Lance. I saw you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see. Frequency weekly. Well, Bitcoin is getting to some support at these levels. Well, which would make sense. I mean, so is Bitcoin. So it looks like these are good support levels for MicroStrategies. I feel like Joe is correct, and it could easily get below 100. And the next support looks like it's around $50. So if it gets to here, I mean, really, it could fall significantly. Yeah, I didn't see any major support in Bitcoin. And what concerned me, what I started to say, I talked about it a little bit in a video. One of the common charting patterns is a head and shoulders. And Bitcoin is in a massive head and shoulders type of scenario. And theoretically, the move from the shoulder to the top of the head, once you breach that shoulder on the other hand, is as far down as you could go down to the other side. The move is like $30,000. So if since it's supposed to close below that level, since Bitcoin doesn't close, I don't really know how you would evaluate if it technically, quote unquote, closes below that level. So I guess we would just have to wait and see and how it plays out, because there's no way to determine it. But if it closes below 74, I think it was like 74.4, the downside move is like $30,000 away theoretically with a head and shoulders. I don't know how realistic that is. I don't really know that I think it's going to drop another 30,000, but Bitcoin for my end can go anywhere. Could go to 1 million, it could go to zero. Like I recognize it could be tulip bowls to answer the original question, but my recommendation with anybody who invests in Bitcoin is have a small enough amount of money you don't care, whatever that is to somebody. Again, not financial advice, don't, but I wouldn't put so much money in Bitcoin that it impacts your life, or it's something you worry about. It is such a gamble. It has no fundamentals. And in some ways I would say that about pretty much anything. I just wouldn't want to get oversubscribed in anything. So Palantir's still up 6.4%. Look at that. I, I'm surprised it hasn't. I mean, with only 2 hours left in the day, I'm surprised it hasn't started, like, really, that this wasn't a selling opportunity. Um, Maybe it will be by the end of the day. Maybe it won't be. I have no idea. But even when I look at the price, at 158, 157, it's significantly off the highs. Let me take a look and see, because I know what it was, 170 not that long ago. So it can't be. Let's see real quick. 52-week high, 207. Yeah, so it's significantly off the highs. Um, I guess we'll see. So let's see. Okay, what about any trading buys? Yeah, there are things I still like, um, but it's all the defensive stuff. I think I mentioned the other day, I like the stuff like Clorox. I like things that are. Uh, I don't want to say it at the price it's at now, because I would agree. I think Target's probably a little overstretched here. If I'm trying to time it better, I would wait a little bit to see if there's a pullback. The only thing is, like, but at least Target is. Um, but I think anything that has good earnings and is making good money and pays a decent dividend, if the new Fed chair gets in and starts cutting rates, and if we slow down and you see the longer end bonds start to come back and less inflation, so keeps going. Even things like Verizon, which is up a good bit today, I think that stuff could keep going. I think if they're able to make enough money to pay those dividends in an environment where rates are coming down, I think that's a pretty attractive environment for something that pays a dividend. Now, along the way, if we have a correction, like I don't even know that we'll have a correction. I mean, I look at things like Meta and I look at the price to earnings and their projected growth. If they hit the targets that Mark Zuckerberg said, it's a steal at these prices. I don't, I just see some cracks, so I guess I have concerns. What platforms or sites do you use for your stock research? Primarily E-Trade, Lance. I just use the account where I do it. I do go to Yahoo Finance, and then if I really want more information, my brother is a financial advisor and has access to a bunch of stuff. And of course, he's happy to send me whatever, or go into like some of his stuff gives better information of what forward guidance is supposed to look at. And when like sometimes I'll look at something and it'll show negative earnings, but I like something doesn't make sense. The systems that he has, he's able to look and see what is really going on to be able to answer a little bit better. But I think Joe was making fun of me recently because he says I just guess, which I get. But part of it is I think sometimes people get a little too entrenched in their research because there's some things you just can't account for. Like, did anybody know that the guy on the board, Archer Daniels Midland, was lying about the financials and just saw that coming, or knew that Boeing was going to have a plane or two fall out of the sky and things of that nature? They're just things that you can't predict. And unless you work for the company, there was one of the YouTubers who I'll kind of make fun of, and it's why I diversify as much as I do. I think that the information that we all have access to, is not great information. And unless you're Bill Ackman and you have the phone number to the CEO and can get him on the phone and maybe take him to dinner and get some real answers as to what's going on at the company and have a better understanding of the earnings and the truth about the growth and everything else, being able to look at the numbers and make our guesses as to what we think is going to happen is pretty futile and pretty much has no value. And it may make us feel more comfortable, but outside of just making us feel more comfortable, I don't know that there's a whole lot of value in it. And I don't have the phone number of the CEOs, and I'm guessing nobody else does, which was kind of the comment I made to the YouTuber because, I have 30 or 40 positions that I have small balances in because my attitude is if the CEO is doing something I'm unaware of and something comes out that they were lying on their books, I don't want to get clipped on some company because I'm not aware of what's really going on. So I just think anything that we have is bad information. We're only getting what is spewed to the media that then gets passed on to us. So we're always late to the party. Like, how many times, if you watch stocks during the day, do you see something just start to move? Like Palo Alto Networks, what is going on that it's down $10 today? I have no idea. I haven't seen any news. Now, if I go to X, which, I guess it's called X now. But if I go to X, I have a better chance of getting news than my actual news platforms. Let me see if there's anything on here. And by the time you do find out, it's already moved. So let me just see, why is Palo Alto Networks down so much today? From what I saw, there was no news. Is not currently experiencing any issues. You can sign up for an incident hub account to get notified, but yeah, according to this, there's just no reason. And by the time you find out, well, it's already moved. So that's why I say I think people like, forgive me, I know it's a long answer to what platform I use. Uh, I like doing the research too, and I like looking into stuff, and it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy. But to pick on myself when Joe says that I guess, to some degree, I pick what I think are good companies, and I'll look at the numbers, but I try not to overanalyze it because there's too much information that we don't have. And to hyper focus on he was talking about trying to get it to 5 tickers. Now I'll pick on him a bit because one of those pick tickers was an ETF, so you're not really narrowing it down to 5 companies. But his point was, why wouldn't I just own the 5 companies I'm most convicted about, and or I have the most conviction on? And my answer is because you don't know if the director is lying on the books, and you don't have their phone number to be able to confirm it the same way that Warren Buffett, Bill Ackman, or any of these huge investors really are able to get that information. So, me feeling conviction that Meta is incredible and using the information that Mark Zuckerberg is giving at the quarterly report, maybe it's accurate, maybe it's not. If it's really slowing down, is he really going to put that out there and let the world know that things are slowing down at Meta? Or is that something that he might disclose to Bill Ackman on a personal call or a dinner that they go to when he's thinking of investing, $100 million or whatever the number is into the company? It's much different than somebody putting 10 or 20 or 50 or even 100,000 into something. I just don't think you're getting that information. So let me just, sorry, I use the same thing. We're truly way behind. Yeah, I'll read these in a second as I get to it. Well, I'll be a son of a. The computers actually let VIX post a higher high. Yeah, VIX, they said on CNBC it got a little above 20, which is good. That's good. That's good nervousness. The reality is, as much as I talk gloom and doom, I hope that the markets catch themselves and keep going higher. It's that I don't want to ignore or be oblivious to the cracks that I potentially see. Um, and I'm an emotional person. That's actually why I have a set it and forget it account separate than my trading account. I know that I can be emotional, and I know that I want to be invested in the companies that I've put it in the set it and forget it account, and don't really do much with that account. Even what I did with Caterpillar recently, which today it was up above 700. Is it still there? Yeah. Um, I typically don't do that. I generally just kind of leave it alone because what I try to do is, I have my job, which pays some bills, and I have some income coming in. So I try to just leave it and not worry about it so much. So AMD is definitely going to beat tonight. That's why, yeah, I think everybody's going to have good earnings. Like, that's the interesting thing. It's not a matter of what the earnings are. It's a matter of how does the stock react after the earnings. Like, that's more what I'm interested in. It's kind of why I'm keeping an eye on Palantir, which is a company, like, I'm not interested in being. Well, I wish I bought it at like 20 and made $1 or two, because I don't. It, it's why I try not to invest in companies I don't know about. To my point earlier about having conviction, like, it's hard for me to have conviction in companies I know nothing about and don't understand what they do. And Palantir is just one of them. Like, I don't really get it. I can read the information. I understand they use, AI and whatever else to be able to make predictions for military type stuff, and their software is supposed to be incredible, and they're growing at a pretty rapid pace. I just see the valuations and think even growing at the pace they're growing at, it'll be very hard for them to sustain those valuations. And then Lance is responding to what I was saying about all the information we have, which, yeah, absolutely. Like, I think the information we have is super late. Um, I don't know. Do any of you have buy recommendations? I'm guessing that that Joe does not, and he just has a bunch of sell recommendations, even though he was asking about buy recommendations. All of my buys right now are just super boring stuff. I, so Lance is saying, how about MO and BTI or PM? And I think all of those are great. Like, that's kind of what I'm talking about, and also Vici Properties, which he's mentioning. And Look, I kind of come from the Warren Buffett attitude of I don't really want to buy anything unless I think I can hold it for, well, I'll say 5 years, but 10 years or longer. I want to be in companies that I understand them, I'm comfortable with them. And if they have a downtrend for a few years, that's okay because I'm still comfortable with the companies. So, yeah, all the ones you mentioned are great companies. I like MO, I like BTI, and what I've learned is when there are recessions, the cigarette companies and the smoking ones tend to do okay. People gravitate towards alcohol and cigarettes and even potatoes. Now, I haven't looked into any of the potato companies. And then Vici Properties I like too, because the news on Las Vegas has been way blown out of proportion. I like things are still busy here. Um, Maybe it's slowed down, but that shouldn't really impact their earnings. You know, is Caesars not going to pay their rent because things have slowed down a bit? Like their deal is with the hotels and they own the property and they receive rent payments essentially. And they also have automatic increases over time. So as long as the hotels aren't having such a bad run that they actually might go out of business or that they have to go to Vici and say, look, we need to renegotiate. We can't afford our rent payments. I think Vici is at a really good price and it's paying a 6.5% dividend. I have property in Las Vegas, so I'm not looking to add on. Um, so the real market, the kid in the case of Palantir, SoFi, Hood, and Hood as well. But yeah, I know Hood's had a good correction, which I wasn't aware of because, like I said, I wasn't lying when I don't watch it, but my buddy told me. So I looked earlier, and yeah, it's down to 85. Let's take a look at this chart too and see how it looks. Now, Hood is one of those that I think could end up being a good opportunity. Now, full disclosure, I own it in an account that it's a retirement account. So I lost the password for a while. But geez, Hood could go all the way back to what looks like $35 a share where it hits some real support. I mean, the first support is up in the 60s and 50s, but it could have a nice big correction. And look, I'm not looking to buy the stuff when it's flying high. I might try to trade it in the trading account, but once I give up on it, I really take it off my screen so that I don't keep paying attention. If I look at a longer chart, this could have a nice down move. And if they continue to have earnings, like they've added all that gambling stuff, which they get a very large percentage of anything that somebody trades. Um, it could drive earnings. And if you see a company like that, that the stock price is falling precipitously as their earnings continue to grow, I think that can become a very good opportunity. It just takes time to play out. So Lance is saying he's always held MO for years, always been good to me. MO's been a great investment for a lot of people. I've been in and out of BTI, PM, and Vici. Yeah, I had BTI at one point, and probably should have just stuck with it. It's not typical that I get out of a company like that. So let's see. And then Joe, I've always got buys. I just gave you the M.I pot sector. Okay. I'm going to attempt to finally rescue AMC so that the families of the dead and gone AMC apes have a legacy after losing all but $1 on AMC. Let me take a look. I haven't looked at AMC since the GameStop AMC days. But somebody else was talking about AMC. Look at that, $1.37. But I'm sure they're losing money and in a bad spot. Like they were so stupid not to do something with streaming when COVID came along. I mean, what? How? Forgive me. How dumb could the people on the board be to think no, we're just going to stick with movies? Um, that can't be right. They don't have earnings like that. Oh, negative $1.43. That could be right. Let's see, insider activity. Let's see if they're all selling it. I can't imagine that. Yeah, somebody sold a bunch. Oh no, it's just an exercise of options, but that's a big number. So yeah, a bunch of them they exercise their options and cash them out. I don't know. AMC is like a Bitcoin play. I understand it feels better because it's only $1 a share, and you think, oh, I get a lot of shares. But the reality is the number of shares don't matter. It's the dollar investments, the market cap, and things like that. I kind of wonder if they're going to have to file for bankruptcy. Unusual options activity. Well, let's see. That's interesting. Let's see if it's somebody getting buying calls or something. Bullish call. AMC Fit this week's 1.5 calls are seeing a lot of interest. That's interesting. For whatever reason, sometimes that's just a hedge, but sometimes somebody knows something. I mean, it's amazing how when I traded currencies, my brother was an options trader at the board of options in Chicago. And it was amazing how somebody would come in and buy a ton of options in a particular stock. And look, sometimes buying those options drive the price, but it's amazing how often when somebody bought an outrageously amount of something, how the stock ended up doing extremely well afterwards, which is why I say, like, I don't have access to information like that. And some of these guys, like, I don't want to say it's manipulated, but some of these guys really know what's going on. So, what was it on Robinhood? There was some guy who went in and made some bet that the Brazilian president would be abducted the day before it happened. Like, come on. And it was somebody who opened an account, placed the bet, made it like 100x on their money, and never made a different trade. Like, so I don't know. It's interesting that they have some unusual option activity, Joe. So maybe your timing to save them is good timing. Um, their market cap is only 718 million. That's another one I wanted to look at for myself. Portillo's. So I lived in Chicago for a long time, and I bought Portillo's at I think $20 a share or $15 a share, and it has fallen to $5, and it's only a $425 million market cap. And I got to tell you, Portillo's is a very good restaurant. That I think so. Here's a buy, but I wouldn't buy this with any. This is a Hail Mary. Like, maybe it pays off, maybe it's a good investment. It's a 5 or 10 year hold, and it could go to zero. Like, they could fail. Dick Portillo sold the company to an equity company. But if this is right, it's showing 36 cents of earnings and a 15 PE, which for a restaurant the size of Portillo's with the potential growth going forward, to me is a steal. Like, if they become more than a pimple on the butt of the world, like, it could have a 10, 20, 30x type of move. Now, don't hear it the wrong way. I don't say that meaning like, oh, this thing's just going to take off to the moon. What I'm saying is, here's a very small company that has earnings and a good product. If anybody has been to Chicago, and I know there's not a whole lot of us, and gone to Portillo's, they run a good business. And not only do they run a good business, they have products that I feel like if they opened up in other states and had the restaurants, that that it is something that would translate well and might get a good following. So those of you not familiar, they make Chicago hot dogs. They do what's called an Italian beef, which is very specific to Chicago, where you can get it like dipped in au jus, and they use hot jardiniere if they're using the right product. I think it's from B&G, Joe. I'd have to look it up. Speaking of B&G, I know you mentioned them earlier. But the jardiniere, I, excuse my language. I have to look it up. I have to see where it comes from. It's very specific to the one that's used in Chicago. But they also do this chocolate cake shake that people really like. And it's something that translates really well everywhere. But they have a huge menu. They do ribs, burgers, and all sorts of stuff in these different sections. So the restaurants are big. If you go to Chicago, even in the suburbs and the other locations that they've opened, there are unbelievably long lines because it's that popular. And the places they have opened up, they've had very good success. So it's one that I don't know how many of you watch Russ from Dapper Dividends. Whenever he sees me, he kind of jokes about Portillo's because we've both had it for a little while. And it's something that, again, if you're from Chicago and you're aware of, they have a good product. So I kind of like Portillo's. And if you're buying it for $5 a share, you're getting it at like a third of the price of what I paid. I'm tempted to buy a little bit more, which is where I go that you should never buy so much of something that it really makes it like whatever. It's kind of a fun stock. So, and Lance is saying, "Oh yeah, I think I know you. We've talked about it. Love Portillo's. I believe in their ability to grow too. Still a holder. Was down to four something. Yeah, yeah. The low is 441. It's 552. This doesn't update. Like it's not live quotes. My phone is so 555. Bought a little down at that price too, and it's kind of how I feel. Like I've been lazy about it, which is what makes me think I could end up being correct. Like I keep thinking I should buy a little bit more Portillo's, and I just haven't, and that that makes me think it probably will go back up. So that when it does, I'll be like, "Damn it! I knew I should have done that," which tends to be the way that things work out. So, like I said, Portillo's actually has decent. Let me go through the numbers. Let me look at the stuff here. So 71 million shares outstanding. There is 20% short interest. That's a bad sign. They don't give a dividend, we know. Debt to equity indicates it has been aggressive with using debt. Well, they have to be aggressive using debt, so that's kind of stupid. You know, they're a growing restaurant. It's confirming the earnings per share, and then I'll put it into ChatGPT as well and see. Asset turnover, inventory turnover, these ratios give an indicator of efficiency ability within a company as compared to its peers. So everything looks attractive. Let's see what their profitability is. Oh, that's not the greatest. And look, if I only picked on one thing about Portillo's, I think that they focus too much on making a bigger and bigger menu to try to appease everyone. And I think that their menu is plenty big. Their gross margin is more than 80% of other companies. It's showing a 65.75, but they must have some pretty big expenses because the net profit margin is only showing 3.7. Um, and restaurant margins for net profit are not going to be phenomenal, so I expect it to be low, but I would hope to see it closer to a 10% margin. If I were to, McDonald's isn't really a restaurant, so I don't want to look at them. Um, but I'm guessing if I looked at Texas Roadhouse, it is not a 3% margin. Um, Operating margin, Portillo controls its costs and expenses. Yeah, I don't believe that they're saying they control it better than others, but 3% when you're getting 65% gross margins. Let's see what ChatGPT says out of curiosity. Well, I'm glad you agree about the menu. Just because I remember years ago reading about they were adding like salads to try to open things up for, I don't know. I think it was like to get more women to eat there, but they do well. Like, I don't think you have to make everybody happy. And as somebody who owned a restaurant, there is a certain point where it just makes it too hard on the employees. If you have too many different things and too many ingredients, first of all, it's difficult to keep the inventory stock when you have that many ingredients and keep controls, because you're going to end up having something that just doesn't get used and it's going to end up getting thrown out. You add this salad that has three vegetables that are only used in the salad, it's a big mistake. If you stick, it's why something like In and Out has such a great menu, is they only have the things that they sell tons of. They don't worry about coming up with some salad to make a certain segment of the population. Anyway, that's just me on a rant, but Lance is saying he agrees, keep the menu stupid. They're trying other things like Dallas Airport and also walk-ins. So that's not, I mean, that could work. Um, let's see. Please do a stock analysis of Portillo's. Then wait, stock. Let's see. Now it was doing it in a different language for a while. Yeah, the chocolate cake. Yeah, the chocolate cake and the chocolate cake shake is good. Um, oh, I didn't know they did breakfast, and yeah, tested and failed. They selected around six spots. Around, yeah, like I said, why mess? Like, you have a great business. You don't have to do everything. Just, that's my only concern, is that I worry about the company that bought out from Dick Portillo, that like, their menu was their menu and people were happy about it. I worry that whoever the company is that bought them out is a little too concerned about the food side of things instead of just focusing on growing the business and doing something with having a good system and just growing that. So they call it a hold. I hate hold. Hold is like the dumbest thing ever. Um, let's see. Wall Street isn't bear. Fundamentals, mixed signals. Revenue continues to grow modestly year over year, though not rapidly. Like, to me, that's fine. If you're a new restaurant, as long as those revenues continue to grow and the earnings can, eventually it should catch itself, which is why I say long term. Recent earnings showed slowing same store sales. Well, so did a lot of things. The economy seems to be that way. And margin compression due to cost rising, which expected in a restaurant. Debt level significant. Of course, they're growing. Valuation metrics and multiples are below many peers like Chipotle and Shake Shack, which that's kind of what I'm noticing, is it looks cheap to me. Um, Same store sales decline. That's not great. The profit margins is no shock to me. Like, costs are going up, and maybe they need to raise their prices. I don't think their clients are super sensitive to the pricing that they have. Uh, if there was one out here, we would be going, and I wouldn't be super concerned, because most of their stuff like is relatively inexpensive in comparison to other places. So the lower valuation, the loyalty, and things like that seem to be what they say are bullish things. Heavy debt, same store sales slowing, and market pricing suggests skepticism. The market pricing doesn't bother me. Um, I think it's a value opportunity, which is one of the things that ChatGPT says it could be. But again, I would not be like plowing into Portillo's. It is a huge risk type of investment. They are very new. It is a very small market cap. I just, for me, it's a fun investment because I like what they serve and I'd like to see them do. Um, by Stan's Donuts. And I guess I have to get back to Chicago. I don't remember Stan's Donuts. Where, Lance, if you don't, where were they located? I'll have to tell a few friends that are still out there. And I kind of would ask Russ too, what if he's ever been to Stan's. I've been to like Al's Beef and some of the others. I, um, I lived in Chicago for 11 years. It's actually where my wife and I met, and that's where I was trading currencies, was at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. So I've really fond memories of Chicago. And we used to try to go back pretty consistently, but but now our trips have been different. Like I haven't been back to Chicago in a long time, and my brother still lives out there. They're just in the suburbs, so when I go visit him, it's different. But that's one of the places I'll say they have a Portillo's out in the suburbs by him, and I didn't realize that drive through for them would be such a big business, and that's why I said I think they just need to open up what they do already because I think it'll do really well. Um, you may recall me putting Tesla on my, I don't remember what you said about it, on my patented weight loss program when she was up yonder at 490. I'm about to set her loose on a feeding frenzy. Oh, TSLL, so it's one of those other, yeah, I don't watch the 2X and 3X type of stuff. It's just too much for me to pay attention to, and I don't really pay attention to Tesla either. I think they make fantastic cars. Like we have to. We are a completely EV household, and when my son gets old enough, well, actually, he'll probably just use one of ours. But in terms of an investment, I feel about Tesla the same way I do about Costco. Like if it just keeps going higher, I'll just be jealous of those who own it. But I can't pay the valuations it's at. It doesn't make sense to me. It just, it's so silly. I can't justify it. I mean, I know people do because they just think it's the greatest company in the world. But I, I look at price to earnings, and when I see 392 times earnings, uh, you're pricing in an awful lot of robo taxis and robots and things of the future that maybe come to fruition. But it's very hard for me to make bets on things that don't make money. I've seen that in the dot-com bubble too many times. And to be fair, when they had CES out here, he, I, Elon Musk is an amazing person, but they are not the only company working on building robots, and the robots are incredible. So they're going to have competition, and they have competition in the driverless vehicles. You have Waymo, and you have Zoox, and you have some others. So I think they're pricing in the success that maybe happens or maybe doesn't. But if it doesn't happen, right now they're a car company. And if you look at GM or Ford, if their PE gets up around 20, that's exceptionally high. So looking at a car company with almost a 400 PE, it just doesn't even compute for me. And it's the same problem. Let me plug it in that I have with Costco. And look, I think Costco is a way better company than Target, right? I mean, that's why I said I don't want anybody to ever hear these comments the wrong way or think that I just think this is some great company. I think Costco is 1,000 times better, but they're not growing at that much of a faster pace. I think there's more trust that they'll be able to grow at that rate, but they're trading at a 52 times PE, which, look, Kramer said anytime it gets below 50, it's a bargain. I'd be like a 20 something, and I think that's expensive for a grocery store. If I went and looked at Kroger's, I mean, man, they're going to be what, 8, 6? Let's see, Kroger's, right? KRO. Is that them? Oh, that's Kronos. Let's see what Kroger's. Let me look at KR. So, yeah, that can't be right. I eat my words. Kroger's is showing 57, but something's got to be off. They probably took a one-time expense. That's the stuff where it's like I'd have my brother send me the stuff that he has. But forgive me, it's just one of those things like, oh, so how did I not know stands? They were all over the place. I I had friends in Wicker Park and Streeterview. I was near Lakeview. I was actually right off of in Lincoln Park, but yeah. Oh, well, I never saw stands. That's it. Oh, it started in 2014. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There you go. I got to the rest of it. It totally did. Um, I still, Lance, so Lance is asking, what about Tesla talk with potential merger with SpaceX? It's still, I don't think SpaceX has any profits to add to it. So I still have the same problem. SpaceX, Tesla, merger, news. Let's see. SpaceX acquires XAI and record-setting deal is. So they've completed the merger with his AI company. No formal deal has been reached. Discussions were described as exploratory, and SpaceX, Tesla have not publicly confirmed anything. Like maybe they do in the future, but and I don't know what kind of deal they would do, and I don't know what he would be trying to do for his own self. Like, I'd kind of wonder, is it a way to cash out some of the stuff? Like, I don't know. It doesn't really change my mind. And like I said, I am just jealous of those who own Tesla. I wish, so one of my good friends who was in the restaurant business, I remember him talking about Tesla before they had these vehicles when the thing was trading, I don't know, I think it went to like $5 a share at the time before it went to wherever it went and split and everything else. I mean, this is when they still had the Roadster. So I know he doesn't watch, but Peter, who was the brother in law at Bagel Cafe, he used to go on and on about this company Tesla. That I wish I listened to him and bought some, and he never bought it. So it was just one of those. But meanwhile, he thought it was a great company that was coming out with an electric vehicle. I don't know that he knew anything about Elon Musk or anything, but I remember being in their office and him showing me on the computer screen about the Roadster and how it worked and everything else. So I don't know. Um, anyway, Joe, I'll answer Joe, and then I'm going to get going because there was some stuff I wanted to get done with family and stuff. So I'll put KSS. Let me take a look at KSS. What's KSS? Oh, Kohl's. Yeah, I think Kohl's is an okay company. Let's see how their payout ratio is only 51. Let's take a look. Earnings per share, $1.70. 10 times earnings. Return on asset. Yeah, same thing as Portillo's. 2.7. Joe, I got to tell you, I like Kohl's on a quick look. And that's the type of thing, to be fair, if there's ever a slowdown, Kohl's should do really well. The only thing I don't like about it is similar to Portillo's when I get into the profitability, but it is a very competitive space. Their gross margins are a little over 40%. Their net profit is only 1.23. But to be fair, that 1.23 is giving them a 10 times earnings multiple. If they're able to expand that just a tiny bit, yeah, Kohl's could be a great opportunity. I like Kohl's here. Yeah, I think 30% could be a small type of. What I like is when these out of favor companies start to catch themselves. And let me look at a chart. Sometimes, just like I said about to the downside, they really shock people to the upside and go a lot further than anybody would have expected. So, and look, they've already gone from $5 to 17, but they've had a nice drop from the highs at like 25 down here, and it looks like it's kind of catching itself. I could see Kohl's being very attractive here. And if I go out to a longer term chart, I mean, to be fair, Kohl's fell from, $50 a share and trading 17. If that was a bottom at 5, there's really no reason it can't go back above 20 and test the highs in the around 28. So yeah, Kohl's looks like an attractive one to me as well. And it is a company I wouldn't mind, like that kind of to me fits in that target realm. it's not some company I think is some great company. The only thing I don't love about Kohl's is when I go there, they look empty. I never see people in there. What I like about Target is you go in, the parking lots are jammed, people are inside, they do business. But Kohl's obviously must make money if they're trading at a 10 PE, and maybe they have some room to be able to turn around business and start getting customer shares again. And maybe they're doing some stuff online. I know they do the returns from Amazon, which draws people in, and they give you that coupon anytime you go there. So maybe they're able to really turn things around. And if they really turn things around, looking at the chart, yeah, they could catch themselves and do very well. I like Kohl's. I think that's a good pick. Anyway, not financial advice as always. Thank you guys for coming in and participating. I am going to have a little bit of coffee, go hang out with the wife, watch the rest of the market. I haven't really been paying attention since we've been chatting, and then go relax. So, anyway, thanks again. Have a great day, everybody. And thank you, Lance. You take care as well. Love to everybody's family, and I wish you all the best. And I'll try to keep posting. Obviously, I will come back next week and do another live. I am also posting things on that other channel that I started. We'll see if I stick with it or not. Anyway, have a great one, guys. Bye-bye.